Is there really a method to find larger nuggets out in the creeks? Well, I think there is. I'll explain you right in a moment what I mean. But there is also a downside to this method. We need to invest really a lot of work, and we have to accept the risk of wasting our time and energy. I guess this is the price we have to pay for finding larger nuggets. Approximately 1 year after I started with my gold prospecting career, I already found my first large gold nugget. Well, it was a pretty big one. Considerably big for our area. It weighed 19.6 grams and was in fact the second largest nugget found in this creek. And yeah, I sold it to the museum. Well, as you can imagine, I was completely shocked. I was really shocked. How could a bloody greenhorn like me find such a record nugget? So I was completely sure, absolutely sure, this was due to pure luck. Somehow, yeah, it felt undeserved, this nugget. I don't know if you understand me. Sure, I liked the nugget, but something felt, how can I say it, wrong? And yeah, it somehow felt undeserved. But then, later, I found more larger gold nuggets, even larger ones. I don't make a big fuss about it because, yeah, it's not always good to talk too much about what you find. And maybe I will make a video later about the first nugget. But anyway, I found more larger gold nuggets. A very important point, this isn't about doing something better. It's rather something about doing something differently. It's not that I'm a better gold prospector. On the contrary, you could say my method is bad gold prospecting. There were other gold prospectors I know which also found typically larger gold nuggets. And I think really there is a reason for it. Another important point, most of the larger gold nuggets are found in teamwork with good friends and family. So I should say we instead of I. Cheers to the friends and family. Cheers. Well, you all know this kind of places where we have to look for gold, where the likelihood is higher, where the gold is concentrated, like inner sides of bands or behind bedrock outcrops or rocks, crevices, and so on and so forth. And well, there's a reason why the gold concentrates at such places. It's because of the density of the gold. You all know that, nothing new so far. But there are also other factors which have an impact on where the gold deposits. The shape of the gold, flakes or nuggets, are not deposited at the same places, and then also the size. Imagine the following: if you have a band in a creek which is very homogeneous, no rocks, nothing at all, just a plain surface and the band, and the gold is moved by the flood. You have a large nugget with about 50 grams and a small picker of 0.5 grams. So they both have the same velocity and come around this curve, around this band. You sure know that, or you sure can imagine that they will take different paths because of the impulse. The larger nugget has a much higher mass, and therefore it needs more to change the direction, and it needs also more to stop it down because it has this lot of impulse. If they come in an area which is flatter, the larger nugget has more impulse and stops after the small peaker. And there are other situations where it is on the contrary or opposite. Imagine you have a very low water flow, just enough water flow for moving gold. So, and now you turn down the water flow, so obviously the large nugget will stop first. You can see this in your sluice box. The large pickers and nuggets are always at the beginning of the sluice, and the finer the gold, the farther it travels through the sluice. So the point is, larger nuggets have the tendency to deposit at other spots than most of the other gold. So, and what is good gold prospecting? Well, we search for this kind of good deposits where the gold is concentrated. We optimize we hone our abilities to find these spots, and then we run it to the sluice, the material, and so, and until the gold runs out. And if it runs out, we stop and we search for another spot. But this may be wrong if you look for larger gold. Many years ago, I read the books from Dave McCracken and watched his movies or his videos. He's a famous dredger from California, and he also said if you work a pay streak with the dredge, if you come to the upper end and if the gold runs out, don't stop immediately. Proceed a bit, because sometimes the placer starts again. So, and often this upper end of a pay streak or of a placer has the best, or the coarsest gold, most chunky gold. But it's easier to prospect for the finer gold because you can test and you have some, the amount of corals in a pan. But if there is only large gold, it's very difficult to prospect or to know it, because if you take a test pan and there's no gold in it, this means nothing, because right beside it could be a nice picker. So what I basically want to say is, if you really want to find larger gold nuggets, you have to look at different spots. You have to invest more time, and you don't have to stop if the gold runs out. And well, I found this method by luck, because one thing I really hated when I was a young prospector, I hated it to stop at a certain spot, because I always thought maybe one yard more and then the gold comes back, and so on. Exactly that way I found my first big gold nugget. This was a nice spot. I found some nice gold there before, but not that big, and then it ran out, but I proceeded, and then boom, there it was. Still today, for me, it's one of the most difficult decisions when to stop at the spot. If you optimize for finding as much gold as possible, you should really follow the rich placers. But if you want to find these larger nuggets, you sometimes have to proceed. So the sun is down and lighting is pretty different. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning. Of course, first of all, you need to be in a creek which has some large gold nuggets. It's not for sure, obviously. You all know that. And you have to got this information about the creek if there are some large gold nuggets, and it's very difficult to find out by yourself. This really needs some luck, because it's so difficult to find them. So you have to get the information from other prospectors. You have to gather information about the area and the creeks. So choose a creek which has obviously some large gold nuggets. And the second important thing, of course, it's always connected with luck. But it's maybe not that much luck like most of us think. Okay, imagine you are in such a creek with these large nuggets. So what do you do? How do you behave? You obviously go prospecting like always to find the best places. You run them through the sluice, etc. And then you have to extend this spot. And there the bad part begins. You have to be very patient. You have to invest time, and you have to be persistent, despite not finding more gold. My buddy and me, in fact, we spent sometimes weeks or even months without finding gold. just by opening a spot and by making a certain area accessible which we want to reach. And we don't stop before we are really down on the bedrock or within reach of our metal detectors. And that's a very important point too. Obviously, everything is quite obvious. There's no magic in it. Metal detectors help because, you can skip maybe some small gold. But if you really have a good detector, you can be pretty sure. You don't have to make everything perfectly clean on the bedrock. You can test, and you can be sure that you don't leave a large nugget behind. And believe me, some of the large nuggets, they are hidden very, very well in the bedrock. So as I mentioned, at the end of the day, it's not magic. It's hard work, it's persistence, and it's also to believe in yourself and to believe that there could be these large nuggets. Well, another good example where some luck was involved, and it also shows what I mean. There was one spot, was it about 2008 or so, where we sluiced. We ran our sluice, and we really found a lot of gold also on the bedrock. It was a nice crevice there. And then the gold ran out to the left and as well to the right. And to the right there was only some sandy stuff, and so we left this spot. And later we came back just to look around, and a flood washed away the sand. And we noticed there is a pothole in the bedrock, maybe half a meter from where we stopped. And this pothole, well, it had it was around 16 gram gold nugget in it. This was just crazy, and we found this by luck, I have to say. But yeah, if we would have proceeded that direction, despite the fact that there was sandy stuff and no gold, we would have found it. And that's what we do today. If we are in a creek where we really have the chance to find some large gold nuggets, yeah, that's a good point. We also make it dependent on the kind of creek. If you're in a creek with only fine stuff or very, very rare nuggets, then it doesn't make sense to look for the nuggets. But if you are in a creek where you have a real chance of finding really good gold nuggets, then what we do is we plan our spot that way that we really can clean everything which is possible. We go really systematically through this creek. Only that way, if you really are systematically cleaning almost everything around a good spot, you have to start at a good spot where you found some gold. This is maybe also another good point. Or I don't know if I can call it a method at all, but basically it's just what we do and just our experience. We don't stop when the gold runs out. So what we do is we clean as much as we can, as much as is somehow accessible, no matter if we don't find anything, and we check with our metal detector. And that way we really found very nice gold nuggets. And I have to say, there was only one of the really larger nuggets which was within the highly concentrated spot, within the other gold. All others were somewhere out of the main spot, and that's my theory, because larger nuggets deposit at a different spot. I have no idea how this is, for example, in Australia or California. I guess the principles are basically the same everywhere because of physics. So I would be very interested in your experiences. If you have some tips or some own experiences about it, I would be very interested to know it. I'm always keen on learning new stuff. Yeah, this is basically what we do. We invest more time. We accept that we spend time with spots where we find nothing. We had this 2 years ago. We worked for a very long time at a spot where we really found nothing. But then, yeah, at the end, there can be one day. We had in the last years, we had maybe 4 or 5 of these kind of days, which paid off for all the rest of the season. And you have to find this glory. Holes is the wrong word. It's often very small spot You have to find these glory spots, and they will pay you off. And you don't have to give up before you reach them. So if a younger me would watch my nuggets and say, "Whoa, they are cool, I want to find something like that too," I would tell my younger me, well, yes, you can do this, but before you start, ask yourself one question. Are you really ready to pay the price to find them?